Widely accepted as one of the best box office hits ever. However, there are still many Star Wars fans who were in for a huge disappointment.
The first 5 minutes alone ruined the movie, at least in my opinion. However, to many others, it was a great beginning, at least to the point that the stormtroopers could hit something 20-some feet in front of them.
Nevertheless, the movie did get better as it went on.
With a group of new characters mixed with some of the old classics, it did deliver us some surprises.
Perhaps the biggest one for most was the one in which Han Solo was killed. This may seem as a big surprise, but when you were actually watching the movie, it wasn't really suspenseful at all.
We already knew Harrison Ford, the actor of Han Solo, wanted out, and just having the character dead was a simple solution, and one that was all too predictable. In fact, he wanted Han Solo to die in the original episodes when he was carbonated.
So, once again, George Lucas refused to have something majorly or permanently bad happen to the main protagonist. It finally took J.J. Abrams to finish the job, but still not in a very memorable way.
The fight between Rey and Kylo Ren was pretty decent, but still on the unrealistic side.
Rey was way too powerful to not have been trained at all.
Again, I'd like to point out what happened when Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan presented young Anakin before the Jedi Council in Episode 1, asking to allow him to be trained in the ways of the Jedi. The Jedi Council refused him because he was too old, at age 8.
And if Rey was able to harness the Force and defeat a trained Sith like Kylo Ren with zero teaching on it, then the Jedi Council would have been stupid.
Overall, it's a pretty good movie nonetheless.
And on to number 4. Okay, just to get out of the way, Jar Jar is terrible, and Little Annie's lines are mostly uninteresting and, to be honest, stupid.
Such as,
"Are you an angel?"
and
"Now this is pod racing."
Not to mention the midi-chlorians.
the CGI was a little overused, but not near compared to Episode 2.
It kept the adults group a lot more entertained than the kids, just because it had a bit more complex storyline.
Not that the kids are bored. I mean, this is probably, in my opinion, why they put Jar Jar Binks in there in the first place. Because, as a 6-year-old, I laughed at it and liked Jar Jar. However, as I'm older, I realize the flaw in having him. Nevertheless, I'm not upset that they included him.
With that out of the way, on to all the good in Star Wars: The Phantom Menace. The background music was awesome. The most common number 1 rated Star Wars piece is, by far, Duel of Fates.
Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi are both awesome in this movie as well.
Not to mention their fight against Darth Maul. That part was the best fighting scene in Star Wars.
A very strong beginning to the Star Wars movies that smashed the 70s.
To start it right off, we'd like to begin talking about the Death Star.
For the love of platypi, put a darn exhaust grate over that random hole.
Like, what the heck were they thinking when they decided to run a hole straight through the Death Star to their most vulnerable spot of the entire space station?
Anyhow, the movie was overall a pretty good beginning to the original Star Wars franchise, of which became one of the most popular and successful movie series of all time.
Nevertheless, it still had its fair share of flaws, one being the previously mentioned exhaust problem.
Another one being Luke's age restriction of the Jedi. We'll give everyone some credit, since the whole Jedi Council thing was no more. And plus, here's Qui-Gon's loyal Padawan when his master debated and questioned the Jedi Council's reasoning for forbidding Anakin's Jedi training.
However, he saw firsthand what can happen if Yoda's infamous words of wisdom are ignored through Anakin when he became his Padawan. Now he's doing the exact same thing, again, with Luke.
And he wasn't even going to search for Luke. He waited for Luke to come find him.
I mean, if it wasn't for mere chance that Luke's uncle bought C-3PO and R2-D2, Luke probably would have never seen him.
which would have resulted in the destruction and downfall of the remaining Jedi.
And plus, when they destroyed the first Death Star, they were causing way more devastation than the Sith ever did.
I mean, think about it. The whole universe is living at pretty peaceful terms with everyone, and the leaders of the Empire, aka the Sith, didn't really do much to hinder or disrupt the common activities of everyone's daily life. Well, except for Alderaan. Rest in peace.
And you know how the remaining protagonists are called rebels? Well, that's exactly how all the common people think of them. They are rebels trying to take over their government and their system of quote-unquote leadership. Now, enough of the negative stuff. They did introduce the new characters and storyline nicely from the transition after Episode 3.
This is a very well done movie for being made in the 70s, and is still a good watch today.